Thank you so much for choosing Look Up Television, the morning drift right here. It is Monday, the better day to have the big conversation and of course to start up the week in a very special way, and also to understand the engagement that has been happening across the week, and of course many has been happening perhaps during the weekend, and of course even as we embrace Monday, particularly this will help us to have a specific encounter towards the political space right here in the Republic. Now this is the big conversation. The big conversation begins right now. It is 12th of 2025, and a few minutes past the top of the hour we'll be discussing about the road to 2027 and of course IEBC commissioners vetting, as well as to understand what it is about the independent body. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us for the first time, remember there is a showdown in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, and of course to understand the effect it has right here as we had strategize. What would be the reflection on that as well? Why was that statement made? If he was wrong or not wrong, what is the element of consideration towards that? Remember, Rook was also addressing the nation in those areas, and of course the elders were there. So if there was a mistake that was to be taken into consideration, what are the elements that we consider in this conversation? Now remember, we'll also have the commissioners, Register of Political Parties, and Ritu from Nyandarua, Moses Alutalala Mukwana from Kakamega, Mary Karen Sorobit from Oasin Gishu, and Hassan Nur Hassan from Mandera, Francis Odhiambo Adul from Kisumu, and Fahima Arafat Abdallah from Lamu. Those are some of the commissioners that of course will be looking forward towards the vetting process that will be done, and of course if it will be into perfection, so you'll see a greater glory as far as the independent body is concerned. Now of course there is also an enablement of the route. We had given an insight on the Gen Z's protest, which is also an alarming case. Yesterday we had discussed about the BBC report on the Blood Parliament, which also created an uproar, which is still existing right now, and also there's a concern on broad-based government. That is much, but to just make a statement to what we'll be discussing in the course of time, Dennis Syambi, political analyst and the climate change expert, is our guest this morning. Will be joining us in a few, but right about now we have Juma Sibuor, not a familiar face. You've seen him before in our last episode. He is a political analyst and educationist. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nice to have you once more.
Thank you to have me this morning. Secondly, I want to take this opportunity. My name is Juma Sibuor, as you said. I want to take this opportunity to greet our viewers wherever they are.
Indeed.
Thirdly, I want to take also this opportunity to send my condolences to the family that lost their 9 members in Kenya. It's unfortunate that the leaders, the Luo Nyanza leaders, none attended the burial of the third family. But they attended the burial of the MP, and they keep on insisting that let's do the police to do thorough investigation and arrest those who killed the MP. So unfortunate to the Nyanza people, but that you need now to understand how leaders, how they operate. Thank you. Now, thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much. You've made quite an introductory statement, of course, towards this conversation. We are having the big conversation. As you start your lines, what will be your take on the state of the nation as we speak?
The state of nations, we're not moving in the right direction. In terms of, there's so many issues, the economical issue, the educational issues, the legality in terms of law, and how they're happening. And that if you don't respect the law, the 2010 constitutions were voted by the Kenyan people of Kenya, and they knew that they're going to bring a change. And anybody who is in power in administration, with the judiciary, the parliament, should respect the constitution. Right now, we are almost going to dilemma whether we have 2 deputy presidents or not, because the court hurriedly confirm and form a bench which was not constitutional, with no legality, were not considered, and now we don't know whether Rigathi Gachagua is still the deputy president.
Indeed.
We don't know whether Kindiki is illegitimate deputy president. IEBC was constituted the other day, the commissioners was appointed, but there's also some questions, because we find that when we submitted after shortlisting, the IEBC, the committee that was given a mandate to shortlist and do the interview, were shortlisted 105. But 1 day later or 2 days later, the list is shortlisted again to 115. There are some 6 members, that individual that were sneaked into the list. So that already raised question of legality of the entire process, because normally when the interview, when you do, when a human resource do shortlisting, and then after the end of the lapse period, and more so this was gazetted, and then at the end of the day you find that there's some people being sneaked in, then now raise the question of legality of the entire process. So this country is not moving in the right direction on the security issues, on the education issues, the economical issues and all that. And then we need to have a conversation. Lastly, we already started campaigning. We are campaigning 2 years before 2027, and then the president is campaigning. If oppositions are campaigning, then that's fine. They don't have much to offer. But the president has the mandate and has the responsibility to offer the things that he promised the people of Kenya. So we are campaigning. So if you are years down the line, and then we are now deeply in campaign before the end of this administrations come to an end, then there's a question mark.
So it means that the test is not on the service to the people, but service to the seat.
Yes, it's service to the seat. Everybody looking for a job in the government. We are giving them a job 2 years, 3 years down the line. They are not satisfied. They already started looking for another job by the end of 2027, and yet we expect to get the service delivery from the same administration.
Sibuor, speaking about the seat, was that the same case that should apply to the opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga, of course, embracing the fact that I need a seat just to have the reflection in the political space?
Yeah, of course, most of these people, they are not going there to serve the wananchi. They go there to defend their property, their wealth and accumulated wealth and all that. So they're looking for the seat just to be in the power. Not the interest of wananchi become the second principle, not the first principle. You have seen it. 2 years down the line, we are already in campaign. We for the election, and we are deeply in campaign. So that means that these people don't get these seats because they want to serve the normal wananchi. They get these seats because they want to serve their own interests, the personal interests and all that. There's a talk in town that the CS he just appointed the other day already is bragging to his friends that he bought a house 100 million. Just the other day, this year, a CS was appointed. Just the other day in the broad-based government is now bragging that he has bought a house 100 million plus. 100 million plus can build how many schools in Nyanza, how many health centers in Nyanza, and even construct some good roads in Nyanza. But now so that means that this person was not given the job to serve normal mwananchi. Forget about
self-satisfaction.
There's no service satisfaction. They're serving their own interests. Yeah.
Indeed. All right, as you invest that, of course, and as matters of the seats are concerned, we'll also have an address towards the independent body, and there are people that are coming in for those positions, including the chair of that particular. It will be coming on board towards elevating the progress of the Independent Electoral and the Boundaries Commission. To the matters seat, of course, Catholics have a new Pope, that is Pope Leo, will be standing in, of course, to make sure that the Catholic has a standard or an amazing presence as far as the religion is concerned. But also to that matter, there is also the ongoing story on the Weres death. Hitman was caught yesterday, of course, fleeing to Tanzania, and imeleta pia matatizo mengi sana as far as that is concerned. But the question will be raised this morning that the investigation of this death, imekuwa so much steadfast. But remember when the Gen Zs lost their lives, we didn't have so much investigations ongoing. So at this point in time, we're speaking about the hitman being caught and the investigation being elevated. Particular conversation as far as when a superior person dies, there's so much weight in the investigation. But earlier on, we had a crisis on the Blood Parliament. The people that were activating this were arrested.
The politicians they love themselves. They don't love the normal mwananchi. I'll just give you an example. Last week on weekend, we had a burial in Nyanza where the family lost their 9 members, their loved ones.
Indeed.
No particular politician attended that burial in that particular Nyanza. And then I'm saying the people are on their own at this particular time. That was a burial that even the President of the Republic of Kenya ought to attend.
Indeed.
The MP of the particular area ought to attend. The governors, all the Luo Nyanza's leaders ought to attend.
Indeed.
But they went, all of them went to Kasipul Kabondo to mourn with the late Mungondowere's family and the people of Homa Bay.
Indeed.
They insisted that the police to do thorough investigation and those people to be arrested. So the politicians and the leaders in this country, they don't love the people, they love themselves. And that's why there's a lot of pressure for us to arrest, for the government to arrest, or the police in charge to arrest the people who killed Ongondowere, the late MP. But there's so many people. Gen Z died the other day. Nobody's talking about them. So those are not Kenyans. They are just normal mwananchi. So nobody care about them. But when a leader is killed, you see how they make noise. They move left, right, and center, making a lot of noise, political statements and here and there. Then that's what I'm saying. Kenyans, we are in our own.
At this point in time, we are on our own.
We are on our own.
What about that statement that was made about we mourn and we move on?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The politicians love themselves. That was a reckless statement made by the leader in parliament. I've told you last week when I was here, there were 2 reckless statements that were not supposed to come from a leader. One came from Beatrice Alachi. When he said, if you feel Kenya is a bad country, you move out of Kenya and go and live in your own country. When the Jay-Z's felt like the country is not moving to the right directions, things are not working in education sector, in the health sector, in security. Number 2, Bashir, the former military, which is now one of the MPs in the Northeastern, said actually, what happened? If you guys feel that everyday people die in Kenya and we sympathize and move on, that was a very reckless statement from a leader in this country. That ought not to be from the parliament. I was expecting the members of parliament comes out and condemn that, their colleague who gave that statement. But nobody, everybody went quiet. John Kerry, who ride on the youth popularity, I thought John Kerry will come strongly. Instead of condemning one of their colleagues who make that statement, he started changing the conversation that the British are doing this because the British are funding the BBC to come out with this documentary, because Kenya said, okay, now we are not going to renew your contract to train your militaries in Kenya. He changed the narrative at the end of the day. But we are our own. The is geographical by the choir members to the state, to the executive. It's a puppet of the executive. To defend us, we get it wrong.
Indeed.
We are on our own.
Well, when you're speaking about statement, I believe Sibuor will try as much as possible right on such not to make reckless statements as well, just to be on the safer side on statements. Above all, of course, I'm saying our senior Dennis Syambi, political analyst and climate change expert, joining us now this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Okech.
How have you been?
Yeah, good morning.
You're good?
Sorry, I came in late.
It's all right. Nice to have you.
The normal excuse is, of course, traffic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
You are here when we were making addresses and the statements thing. What do you think is the position on statements making from the leaders as far as your point of concern is?
Statements specifically?
Statements, what MPs, the leaders as well, making of the public addresses. This
very reckless. I came in when my co-panelist here was actually complaining about the same. It is reckless for any leader to make statements that intense the public. You know, as Kenyans, Kenya as a country has moved steps forward.
Indeed.
And in Africa, actually, we are considered democratically right, and it is wrong for any leader to think that they rule the people and they can just wake up one morning and make statements that make people look less. Actually, the people, we the people are the bosses of our leaders. We elect them into positions so that they can make decisions on our behalf. We don't elect them to go there and make decisions or make statements on their own behalf. So it is reckless for any leader to make any statement. My co-panelist, I heard him say about Beatrice will go live elsewhere. Another MP from Northeastern saying that you just move on, it happens normally. That is so wrong. Leaders must be very sensitive, especially to the needs of Kenyans. As it is now, Kenyans are very keen to what their leaders are speaking every day. Kenyans are very keen to what their leaders are doing every day. And your statements actually can ban this country, and the least it can do is send you home in 2027.
Indeed, words are fire. And indeed, of course, I don't know why is it alarming when leaders are speaking. It turns out not to be just a wave, but when the Kenyans or the Mwananchis are speaking, it is a crisis. We might be abducted.
Exactly. You know, the way Kenyans are reacting, especially to the leaders as we speak now, is so different from what has been happening in the past. You know, leaders are used in. I will say this today, Kenyans will forget tomorrow, and life will move on. But Kenyans are no longer that way. Kenyans are very keen. They will ask you questions. Like now, recently when Matiang'i came back to the presidential race in Kenya, Kenyans are putting him to question, like, you did this, you think we have forgotten?
What do you want now?
Exactly, like, you cannot just do things and disappear. Leaders must know that every action, every word you mention out there, you will be judged. And this has been made even better by the social media. It never forgets. We can always pull up what you said some few years back and question you. We ask you, okay, fine, you said this, do you still mean it? And I think if you even go to the utterances that the former deputy president is speaking out, Kenya of him, because I say, okay, fine, you said this at some point. Have you changed tune, and why have you changed tune? So more and more demanding of their leaders, and that's why you see they are restless even online. Because if you elect, if you choose yourself to become a leader, no one scouts you in the village or anywhere to come and vie in a political seat in Kenya. It is your decision. And some leaders come in a form of, okay, fine, my villagers came to my home or what, but in reality it is your decision that made you vie for any position. So when Kenyans come for you, and this actually has transited, it's not only on politicians, even to our content creators online. You make any mistake, Kenyans are on your back. They will ask you questions, they will want answers, and if you don't give them answers, they will put you to the trash.
All right, thank you so much for your amazing insight, Denise. Of course, even as we now want to embrace the fact on the you give me an insight on the statements that were made by Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, Geoffrey Ruku. Yesterday, of course, the DP said, respect the flag, and
I feel actually, I was listening to news yesterday, and I heard about him telling Ruku that you cannot complain. You cannot be in government and you're in opposition and you're complaining. I feel that yes, his statements are true. If you are elected into the cabinet, you're not supposed to not toe the line. If you don't toe the line, you're supposed to be out of cabinet. But at the same time, you know, the pressure from the public, you know, most of the CSS that sit in the cabinet, they sit with the people every day. They receive complaints. And sometimes when they take to the podium, they want to voice what the people are saying. A delicate balance, especially for CS Ruku because he's just coming from being an MP, a politician, that is. Maybe he's still transitioning. But yeah, I agree with CS Kindiki that, DP Kindiki that when you're in cabinet, you're supposed to voice, your loudest voice should be in the cabinet, the highest decision-making body. Yeah, not to the public. You're supposed to be bringing solutions. You're not supposed to be joining the public to complain. Actually, if you want to join the public, you go the Justin Muturi way. You you join the public.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. So within the last few minutes to just wind up the first session, of course, I'd like to ask Sibuor to give us a taste now on the Independent Electoral and Barriers Commission. Well, what is the current state in that commission? And of course, even as we head to the road 2027, a lot of remarks are made across the entire commission, and observers says that the report was only submitted to President William Ruto, and there's so much to trigger even until May 21st, of course, to really understand the views on the IEBC nominees. What will be a take on that?
It's so tricky because this is an institution that have lost public trust for many years. Remember, there's been statements in the public that the Kenyan, we only did transparent, viable, and fair and free and fair election in 2002. From there, been always after the election, we go to court. There's violence, there's war in Kenya, and all that. There's chaos and everywhere. So it's very tricky. These institutions that have lost trust for Kenyans, and if Kenyans realize that it's not transparent in the process of appointing or even selecting these people, then it's going to bring chaos in 2027. Although there's rumors, because you see now, after you shortlisted 105 members out of 1,845, and then two from somewhere, and then six individual names were sneak on the list. So after the Gazette notice, so that raised a lot of questions on legality of the entire process. But then when Makanda was put to task, the chairman of the selection committee, to explain how the 6 names were found themselves in the list, he could not be able to give a clear answer. But then at the end of the day, we find that one of the names that was sneak in the list has found himself in the being appointed by the president, Hassan Nur Hassan. You know, he was a former PC, and already that raised a lot of questions, and then that's going to transcend to the credibility of the process of the election they are going to conduct in 2027. Of course, from very beginning, we needed a clear roadmap of how to select, do the selection, appoint them, and then not there. I don't know what Etiang will do if it go through. To bring the trust to the public. Of course, I do agree with the appointment of Etiang because people expect names that have been there for several. Those are the people that are messing us. They have run many institutions for quite a long period of time. But then Etiang has worked in the UN. That's okay. He has a good experience in the UN. He's a lawyer by profession. He's a legal expert. He's attorney of the Turkana County. Of course, there's also some questions that are being asked. Etienne is related to Nanok, Josephat Nanok. Of course, in Kenya, for you to get a job, you must have to know someone. Because even Hassan Nur is an brother-in-law of Junet Muhammad. So those questions have to be asked. But the issue that we need to ask is the question we need to ask at the end of the day: will they bring the trust, the confidence, the public? Because this is an institution that have been lost the confidence and the trust of the public. That is what you want to know. And above all, of course, we need the change. So the latest development brings a step closer to an end, the more than 2 years wait for a new electoral agency. So when we come back, of course, we now highlight the elements of the IEBC and, of course, what's the future holding for this particular commission. Is it independent? Don't go too far. You're watching The Morning Drift, #The Big Conversation. Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali,
you want to have a proper outlook of the economy, then you have to speak to the wheels and gears of the integral businesses in the country.
And I want to be able to make the youths and everybody coming up in Kenya know that this is here locally.
Men and women in the thick of the bust of markets rising and falling, fighting to make their business decisions stick.
I've always lived in my career that I can never be late.
You need to train by yourself. You need to practice by yourself. Then from there you can compose yourself and give kind of services like this.
On season 2 of the Captain's Arena, we seek the inside of the minds, predict the shift in the markets, get inspiration to start and make sense of it all.
Just watch what everybody else is doing and just make sure you're giving back to the society.
Oof. This is the Captain's Arena. How do you start your engine when it is time to drive? Are you a first-time car buyer or want to upgrade your wheels? Do you know your car brand? Is it powerful, stylish, or does it turn heads as you drive past? Well, let's get to know all about wheels on the Daily Drive Show with Ian Otieno as we review all automobiles inclusively, specs and powertrain, interior, exterior and pricing. Get on board with Ian Otieno for a dose of automobile scene on Lookup TV.
All right, welcome back. This is the Morning Drift, of course, the big conversation. I'm joined in by two lovely to really understand the conversation on the independent body. Earlier on, we had mentioned about being independent or not, but rather we should take consideration on the elements and the future that this commission holds. Of course, President William Ruto has nominated Attorney for appointment as the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Barriers Commission, IEBC. So, of course, the head of state also named Registrar of Political Parties and Deritu from Nyandarua, Moses Lutalela Mukhwana from Kakamega, Mary Karen Sorbit from Uasin Gishu, Hassan Nur Hassan from Mandera, Francis Odhiambo Aduol from Kisumu, and Faima Arafat Abdallah from Lamu. Of course, Head of Public Service Felix Oskei said the nominations follows the recommendations of Dr. Nelson Makanda led selection panel on the recruitment of the nominees for the position of the chairperson and members of the IEBC on May 6, 2025. But above all, the question now comes in: do you think that now for the commission that of course we're waiting for the vetting? Do you think that as we stand, this particular commission is independent?
It is not going to be independent. I really doubt. I'm very skeptical about this because look at the process. The process already states its questions before the public.
Okay.
This is an institution that have lost public trust and confidence because of lack of transparency, free and fair election. And actually, Kenyans have been saying the last time they did a free and fair election is 2002, where they feel Kibaki won the election, but the rest of the election is still put into question. So I don't think they'll be independent because look at the process. I'm very skeptical of the process. Once you did the shortlisting and was 105 shortlisted and then gazetted, then 3 days later we got some 6 names to be sneaked into the list after the gazette notice and all that. But then among the 6 later, now they are members of the commission. One of them is Hassan Nur Hassan. What was the motive of Hassan Nur Hassan being sneaked on the list and then now get in? Etiang is a cousin of Nanok, and I'm not lying, and we have done research, and I can be able to defend that in court. Is a cousin and a close friend of Nanok, Josephat, which is work with the William Ruto very closely. So I believe it's going to be control in that nature of what to do and all that. So I don't know which mechanism are they going to put in place to bring the public trust. So they have to work independently. There's been rumors that William Ruto is preparing his own referee for the match. and they have a hard task to them convince the public that they are independent. From the day they will be sworn into the office to start their operation, they must convince the public. That is the most important thing. They must bring that trust. They must show the public that they can be able to conduct free and fair election, transparent, verifiable election that can be able to bring the trust to the public. But for now, with the issues that have been raised,
all right, Dennis, from where you see it, of course, what is your view on the selection panel, and of course, what is your view on the 6 members commissioners and Ethicon being, of course, nominated as the chairperson of that commission?
Yes, of course, Edong being the chairperson actually shifts the normal selection process where normally we've had people that are deeply into politics or who have been in public service or who are friends to the administration that are normally selected to that top seat of IEBC. Enough said, you realize that IEBC is a body that is mandated to oversee politicians, and anything that concerns politicians normally falls into the political. Sibuor has said that they won't be independent. Actually, you see, if you're going to play a match, recently we've watched PSG, Arsenal, very good matches. People always want to influence the referee. People want to be on the side of the referee, actually. And you see, being the president of a country, and you will be one of the candidates to the elections. It's only prudent that you are going to select someone who will favor you. That is a statement that Kenyans should take very seriously. There's no way the president is going to select someone who is going to declare someone else as the president. So all that process from 1,845 people, how many Kenyans are we? Nearly 50 million. That 1,845 people, they were calculated to be in that list. They were reduced to 105. Also calculated. The 6 that was sneaked in, also calculated. So the final list of the nominees is also calculated.
So who calculated them?
Of course, the president, not even the state. He must ensure that people who are at the helm of IEBC will be favorable to his call. Coming from recent elections, 2022, may his soul rest in peace. He comes from where I come from in Tanzania, Chebukati. You see, he played a critical role in bringing the current administration into practice. He really played a critical role. So, do you think if you are William Ruto today, Okech, you'll select someone
no,
who will read in between the sentences when you've told him declare those results? It happened even during 2002, as Sibuor said. You see, it was a clarion call across the country that it was time for change. Moi had been in elections for a very long time. If he wanted to rig that election, he would have rigged. But it, okay, fine, I've ruled Kenya enough, and let now people decide. For the first time, people decided, and actually elections counted. Like every vote counted. If you voted, I didn't vote, by then I was still young. I didn't vote during 2002, I started voting in 2005. You see, every election in Kenya is pre-calculated, calculated, and post-calculated in the mind of the president today. And that is why you see the opposition is opposing. Because in their terms or in their position, they also want someone who will declare results in their favor. And the president is so cheeky. He has calculated all these moves and all these 6 commissioners, at least 4 or 5 of them, they are going to be in his favor.
So you think that the president is the referee in the match as well?
Very cunning.
Very cunning, I'm telling you. And you see, that is a political process. No matter how you want to call it, it's a political. We have to be happy that the body is being constituted well in time. You see, normally, during the previous regime, the body was constituted mostly near the elections. And the commission was mostly unable to do most of the work that the commission... You see, aside from the side shows of politics and everything else, the commission already is late. We have so many by-elections in Kenya that need to be effected. They have not been done. We have delimitation of boundaries at the ward level and the constituency level. It has not been done. And so many other, we have voter education, civic education. We have so many other duties of the commission that we have to put this new commission to task that they should start doing that early enough. You see, the problem is the IEBC commissioner, the chairperson, must be a Kenyan. And he must be either it doesn't matter, even if you put there President Ruto's brother, that person is a Kenyan, and he qualifies. That is how our law is made. They don't specifically say that we must have this kind of a person here. As long as they meet the qualifications, they become the chairperson. As Sibuor said, as they get into the office, because actually they will go through the parliament. I can tell you that the president has a very good grasp of the parliament. National Assembly, they will pass those names. Those guys are going to be in the office. So as Kenyans, we're not supposed to be complaining how these guys, I'm not saying that we be complacent, but we must start putting these commissioners, the chairperson and his commissioners, into task. You start demanding from them that they should do this. According to the constitution, this is their mandate. One of them is voter registration, continuous voter registration. Why is it that we wait until some few months to election? We that, okay, fine, go register here. It should start right now. Most of the young people that we call the Gen Zs, I hope, Okech, you don't belong there. Do you belong to the, the Gen Zs?
Millennial, I'm told.
Most of them, they don't have voter cards. And the only way they can determine a change in this country is by having that voter's card. So how do we ensure that these commissioners have come into the office in a few weeks from now are going to ensure that we mop up all the Gen Zs to get into the voters register? And how are you going to ensure that continuous civic education is done through Lookup TV, through other media stations, to ensure that Kenyans are well educated? They know that when you go to the ballot, this is, you know, if you've never voted, by the way, that experience is very daunting. Going to queue on the line, then you're handed almost 6 or so. But must begin now. And people must know that your voice doesn't matter if you don't vote. By not voting, you are just voting into the office bad leaders. Because your vote will have counted towards a better and a good leader. If you don't vote, but that begins with having a voter's card. That is where the mathematics of politics begins. Basically, if these commissioners are going to determine who becomes your MCA, who becomes your MP, who becomes your governor. So it is as serious as they are. And as Sibuor said, the process is as good as the results. But being a political process, in Kenya, even if we withdrew the names of the current commissioners, we shall just have another one. Another political process. Maybe a compromised one, but what we should demand from any Kenyan that ascends onto that seat is fidelity to the Constitution of Kenya. Ensure you serve Kenyans, you don't serve leaders. In as much as the president, the chairperson, and you being the commissioner, know that Kenyans are watching. We began this show by saying that Kenyans are keeping vigil on every other public servant. As a state officer, you must uphold the Constitution. If you don't, you will come back someday and they will ask you questions. We don't want a scenario where something happens to you or to your family and Kenyans are celebrating the way it happened to the late Chebukati. We want a Kenya where people will say, congratulations, you are our hero. You gave us the right leader. That is the person we voted for. You counted the votes and they counted.
Okay. Yeah. Nonetheless, of course, the peak of Mr. Hassan will rekindle controversy that preceded his late inclusion in the short list of candidates for the commissioner's position. Earlier on, Sibuor had mentioned about the sneaking in, which is now bringing dishonesty in that particular commission. So, the law requires that the president, within 7 days of receipt of names, forward the list of nominees to the National Assembly for approval hearings. So, even as you and entirely really understanding that this is the duty of the commission and the leaders as well, and of course the duty of the Kenyans to go in and vote. But do you think the commission, in fullness of honesty, since we're beginning controversies as early as now, do you think that mbele iko sawa?
As he said, even if you bring some people tomorrow, new people, it will be the same narrative. The only thing the Kenyans now need to do 2 things. One, push for accountability and responsibility and transparency.
But they've been pushing
on what they are doing. Now, perhaps this time it should be in a different way. New strategy, new plan, how we need to take these people into accountability, transparency and responsibility. That's one. Number 2, these people need to know they are not working for politicians. They are working for Kenyans. Even if politicians are the people who give them the job, but they are using taxpayers' money to run this office. So they need to work for Kenyans. They need to deliver this. Kenya get a credible election, free and fair and transparent at the end of the day. And again, very soon we'll start having a litmus paper whereby we have by-election in different areas and all that. Then that will be a test for them. Voters registration will be a test for them. Voters register to be transparent for every Kenyan. Above all, this is now a challenge to the so-called opposition leaders. They already now know the referees is in place. You know, they need to put a team, a serious team. They need to leave the media like Kalonzo, Eugene Wamalwa. They are more so on the media on expressing their grievances and issues and all that. They, you know, with them they don't have a mandate to deliver services. William Ruto is trying to balance delivering services and campaign for 2022. With them they need to approach this campaign now, active campaign. They need to show Kenyans we are the alternative. You see, they are the alternative. But most of the time, because now the referee has been put in place, let's leave. Even if you bring another referee tomorrow, it will just be appointed from the Kenyan people. It will not come from Uganda, it will not come from the US or the Netherlands, but it will be Kenyans at the end of the day. There must be influenced by someone for them to be in the office. So the opposition leaders now need to work on a strategy. They need to say, they need to tell Kenyans, we are the alternative government come 2027. And we need to see that happening, not with immediate effect. Let's come out from the media. We have an opposition that like media so much. We are not seeing them on the ground. You know, Kalonzo is still where he was in 2021 when he was addressing media, whether to support the Uhuru by then, whether to support join Ruto, whether to run alone, whether to join Raila, reading newspaper, reading article on the media, calling press conference. Kalonzo need to come out from that. Is above that category. He need to go to the Kenyan ground, look for Kenyan voters and tell them I'm the alternative.
All right. So we've been complaining about the transparency. I'd like you to give me just some short lines about now if the process passes and of course the parliament approves these particular nominees. So do you think we'll have transparency to all these, or what if it happens otherwise, that there is no transparency at all whatsoever?
No, we need to put pressure to these people. We need to tell them they're not working for politicians. They're going to work for Kenyans. We need to put pressure on these people. That's why I'm saying this time around, we need to have different approach to put pressure on the IEBC for accountability. We also want to know where this, if it's matter of printing ballot papers, where are these ballot papers being printed? The voters register. You remember there's been issues of dead people in the voters register, maybe like 2 million. We have got like 3 kind of voters register, voters registration and all that. We need to know these things to be transparent for us. To know, we need to know who are the clerks, who are the county returning officer. You know, in the last election, there was almost 39 county returning officers out of that. Do you know that? That's already showing you how there's no transparency and accountability on the entire process. We want to know. We must put pressure, and we must approach this time round in a different approach to make sure that we get the accountability. The process must be transparent for us to get the credible and transparent election, fair election at the end of 2027.
All right, Dennis, we were speaking so much about transparency and seeking this transparency in one accord. But the question now comes in, of course, what about this submission? The particular submission lacks transparency. Of course, it shows Kenyans that already the commissioners or the chair might serve the interest of the referee.
Yeah, of course, as I said much earlier, it's a political process. In as much as it's an independent process embedded in the constitution, but politics has to influence it. And as I said earlier, demand transparency from the people who have been given that mandate. The president is our employee. What he has done, he has followed the law. He has picked people. He has put them in the office. Now, these new guys in the commission, led by the chair, are our employees. They are supposed to deliver credible elections. And it is very possible. Let me tell you one thing. It is possible for you to choose a referee to come and referee your match. But then, if we play our game so well, we might score so many goals until the referee says, no. It is impossible for us to favor you. In as much as you chose me, I cannot keep giving these guys offside. And they are scoring free kick. Exactly. So it is upon Kenyans. No matter what we do, I still go back to my words. It will still be a Kenyan.
Okay.
It will be a Kamba. It will be a Turkana again. And it's still a Kenyan. So what we are supposed to do is demand that these new commissioners under their chair must respect Kenyans. Yes, they have been selected through a political process which seems to be independent but not independent. But then they should deliver for Kenyans because Kenyans are very keen and they are watching. If you don't do what they think is within the law, they will come for you. That is what Kenyans are doing now. They are tired with the people who are going against them and going against the law. Even if you are a judge, you are a journalist, you are a content creator, just go against Kenyans now. You will face them somewhere.
That's 0 likes.
Exactly. Watakusalimia.
Indeed.
All right. This time, let me tell you, this time Kenyans are more serious. They are ready. They are armed. They are ready to do anything. Even declare their own results and go to the street before you announce results. Let me tell you, this time, if those guys are not going to take their responsibility and be transparent in what they are going to do, it's going to be a normal Kenya that we know. Kenyans are very determined because of the suffering that we have gone for the last 3-4 years. They are very determined. So it's upon them to be very serious in what they are doing.
All right. Of course, it's
if they paid me to advise the new commissioners, of course, I'm giving them free advice here to pay me. Is that yes, you've been appointed by the president through a very elaborate process, but just go there and work for Kenyans. If you are counting votes and they go to one candidate as majority, please declare that candidate. Don't cut corners. Time will vindicate you at some point, even if you get like maybe fumbled up by the system, or time will vindicate you and you will become a hero for Kenyans at some point, because the fact that you are living paying job somewhere, you applied for this position, it means you are already a hero in the making. So just complete the journey. Make sure you declare the right candidates who have won, and those who have lost, let them lose. So at the presidential level, if the president will lose, just say he has lost. If there's a runoff, just say there's a runoff. No Kenyan will beat you up. But if he has won, yes, he has won. These are the votes, and we can go back and count them. And ensure before that climax comes, there is an elaborate process of ensuring that you can account for those votes.
Indeed.
And that's why we have the systems, the technology around it and everything, and ensure it's in place, because already the budget that was submitted to the parliament by the officers currently serving the IEBC, the secretariat,
Indeed.
already they are demanding. It's going to be one of the costliest elections that has ever been held in the world.
Indeed.
And we can make it cheaper. Can we print those papers here in Kenya? De La Rue, I don't think if it's operating. We can transform that building into a ballot. Why should we take our printing? Why don't we trust our Kenyans? Why don't we trust Kenyans? That's a lot of money to take out of the country. Let us, we print everything. We print our exams. So why don't we print ballot papers in Kenya? Legitimate papers.
You're right.
Ensure that, because if you go to European countries, elections are never a matter of discussion.
Indeed.
People who win elections, they just win. People can even vote over a number of days. You can even submit your vote over mail. That I voted for this guy. Yeah, no one steals it. Why don't we make it so simple? Let us not sensationalize elections as if it is the
life and death.
Exactly, it's a matter of life or death. We deserve. The leaders that we are seeing on top of the cars in churches, the Wamunyoros, the Kalonzos, the Rutos, these are the people we voted for. We went, checked very well a ballot paper and ticked their name. So Kenyans, what they should do, demand transparency from the commission, and the commissioners deliver for Kenyans, don't deliver for any politician, because you will be in for fire.
Indeed.
That one I can assure you, free advice.
All right, Dennis Syambi, thank you so much. I believe those are lovely insights, and of course very free advice to the government and the commissioners as well. I think it has gotten to them, and I'd love now to give Sibuor your last comments, even as we wind up the session.
I'd want to give a comment on the legitimacy of Kindiki. I want Parliament to follow the law, because they are putting us into crisis and problems every time and again. Last time I said the Parliament has become the puppet of the state, and it's been controlled by the executive of Wamunyoro. Now it's turned out to it's illegitimate, because where the chief Amwilu was not supposed to appoint the 3-judge bench. It doesn't. That was out of her power. If the law says unless the chief justice communicate, I understand she was out of the country, but it's put in writing. You tell the court this is the reason why as beginning mandate to appoint the 3-judge. That was not communicated. There was no communication in writing. Now it's then. Now it become illegitimate. Watangula itself is a legitimate speaker, because the court rule that he cannot hold the seat of a speaker and at the same time the party leader. Number 2, Azimio are the majority. So then mean that we have 3 arms of government. We have the parliament that right now is legitimate, speaker illegitimate, the majority leader illegitimate, the deputy president illegitimate. We have got Musalia Mudavadi, the office of the prime is not on the constitution. So you see, today you are in power. Tomorrow when you leave power, somebody may all you acquired when during this time, because they were running a legitimate office. So please, I'm begging the Parliament, please let's do things right. Let's follow the law. Let's follow the process. There's no hurry in impeaching the Gachagua. The process was to be followed, and then it's concluded to within the law, and then the decision is made. That could have not helped us. Now we don't know who is the because the entire process is null and void. So let's do the right thing in the right time, in the right place.
Indeed, very well stated. Thank you so much, Stephen Juma, political analyst and educationist, of course, as well as Dennis Syambi, of course, a political analyst and a climate change expert. Thank you so much for making time. I believe we will consider more time to really engage in all matters, and of course, specifically to matters that make sense to and to the government as well, and of course we'll give some consideration to Syambi. Nimeona unatumia explanations za mpira hivi, it means that when mtu ya Arsenali I know, but it's nice to see you. All right, so the next to the National Assembly for consideration and approval by Parliament. So the National Assembly is currently in recess. So His Excellency the President has asked the National Assembly to prioritize the consideration of these nominations. That is words from Mr. Koskei. And above all, we'll see the consideration being done. The country has been without an electoral body since President Ruto declared the 7 positions vacant on February 14th, 2023 and March 1st, 2023. So we're expecting for greater glory as far as the independent body is concerned. And with the trigger coming in for the road 2027, we expect an alignment as far as equal vote is concerned. We'll place a vote, and of course by the end of the time we believe that we'll select a leader for the people. So keep the tags rolling on our Facebook and YouTube. Use the hashtag The Morning Drift, the big conversation. We are live on all social media platforms and also our website. So see you tomorrow as we engage on matters of health. Remember, it's a conversation that we don't want to miss. A woman or a lady has been was born with human immunity. She battled this for the last 14 years. So what are the points of consideration even as we ignite stigmatization and tuondoe unyanyapaa kwenye jamii? So see you then. My name is Moses Okech. My director has been King Dantimax.